Welcome, Ghosts and Ghouls, to October Top 5 2018. I'm Walter Benaziac.
I'm Heather Roos.
And I'm Aiyanna Wade.
Every week this month will feature Halloween-themed countdown, starting today with an old favorite. Last year, I had the opportunity to cover the best and worst episodes of Goosebumps, but there's so much more I want to talk about with this show. The monsters and villains in Goosebumps are a lot of people's favorite part. We didn't always need a great antagonist to make for a great episode, but when most fans think back to seeing this show as a kid or reading the books, the first things that come to mind are probably those monsters that the kids in the stories had to face off against in some form or fashion. It's the biggest part of this brand's identity, and their escape from R.L. Stine's stories was the entire premise of the 2015 movie. When I covered the best episodes last year, I included some of the show's most well-known bad guys. To branch out a little more and highlight some of the perhaps lesser-known monsters, I won't be repeating episodes. So, if you're wondering where Slappy, the Horrors, or the Haunted Mask are, they won't be included here. If you'd like to hear my thoughts on them and more, take a look back at the best episodes video. Now, let's get into some of the most heinous, bloodthirsty baddies.
October Top 5 begins now.
These are the top 5 best Goosebumps monsters.
Number 5. The Masked Mutant in Attack of the Mutant. They went all out with this episode and even got Adam West to play a comic book hero.
Ooh, Batman?
No.
Oh, Catman.
No, he played the Galloping Gazelle.
Oh, well, is he at least heroic?
That's it. I'm out of here.
Wait, where are you going?
You're on your own, kid.
Oh.
It was a strange appearance, but would you expect anything less from the Bright Knight himself? Attack of the Mutant follows a comic book obsessed boy named Skipper,
Weird name for a superhero.
who slowly realizes his favorite villain has entered the real world. The Masked Mutant begins stalking Skipper as the boy discovers the mutant's hideout, shielded by an invisibility cloak. As Skipper himself begins to appear in the comics he's reading, he finds out that the villain's intentions are more sinister than he could have ever imagined. This was a very different episode of Goosebumps, which is why I like it so much. It's still strange and eerie, but balances a tone of mystery and playfulness that not a lot of the other episodes accomplish this well. It just has a very unique feeling to it, including advertising itself on the side of a bus. There's something unsettling about the Masked Mutant. He's not scary per se, like I don't remember being afraid of him as a kid, but there's just something off about him that sets him apart from a lot of the more standard monsters this show gave us over its run.
You're not real anymore.
He has a great voice and laugh. The mutant almost reminds me of a less creepy version of the ghastly grinner from Are You Afraid of the Dark? Not quite on that level, but there are some similarities. He's memorable, he's odd, he stands out. The Masked Mutant is definitely one of the best Goosebumps monsters.
What are you gonna do?
Destroy you, of course.
No, you can't! Number 4. The Pumpkinheads in Attack of the Jack-O-Lanterns. If Jack Pumpkinhead from Return to Oz freaked you out, then these are the Goosebumps monsters for you. Drew is delighted when her old friends Shane and Shauna come back into town to visit for Halloween. They plan to go trick-or-treating with Drew's friend Walker while local bullies Tabitha and Lee tag along. However, on Halloween night, Drew, Walker, Tabitha, and Lee are approached by large pumpkin-headed beings who escort them to a secret neighborhood where they can trick-or-treat. The candy portions are generous, but eventually, the kids start to recognize this neighborhood is more trick than treat. Spoilers for this episode in case you want to check it out. These are some quality Goosebumps monsters. Their insistence that the kids keep trick-or-treating goes from funny to threatening.
More houses! What's more houses? Trick or treat forever! Forever!
Too much of a good thing is a worthwhile lesson learned here. They throw a triple twist at the end of the episode, revealing the Pumpkinheads to actually be Shane and Shauna, then reveal they're actually aliens, then reveal that they eat humans. They leave on their spaceship with a warning for the kids not to get too fat from the candy or they'll come back to consume them next year. That's a lot to take in. Did I mention the Pumpkinheads also spit fire?
That's the best I can do.
Number 3. The Ghost from Piano Lessons Can Be Murder. This episode actually had a few contenders for Best Monster. Jerry and his parents just moved into a new house that was apparently vacant for many years. Things take a strange turn when an old piano left in the basement starts playing on its own. Jerry even starts seeing a ghost sitting at the piano, but after prompting from his father, he starts taking piano lessons at the nearby Shriek School. Soon, Jerry realizes that the strange happenings in his basement and this new piano school are connected in a very supernatural way. This ghost isn't exactly the main antagonist of the episode, but she is pretty creepy. This character plays on the basic fear of the unknown and unexplained. It's very subtle at first, and built up well, as Jerry keeps hearing the piano play the same tune over and over. When he sees the ghost, it's pretty freaky and not too overdone. Are You Afraid of the Dark mainstay Aaron Tager makes an appearance as the equally creepy Dr. Shriek, while the character Mr. Toggle adds another strange presence to an already spooky episode. I think the ghost was presented the best though, and whenever she showed up, it made for an unpleasant scene.
Number 2. The Werewolf in The Werewolf of Fever Swamp. This is probably the most well-known monster on our list. It's one of those that springs to mind when you mention Goosebumps. Grady and his sister Emily just moved to the swamps of Florida with their scientist parents. The siblings heavily dislike their new surroundings as they both feel isolated and alone. Plus, strange howls at night, dead animals, mean local hermits, and strange occurrences start to pile up. All these things combined have Grady asking himself, is there a werewolf in Fever Swamp? This two-parter takes the slow burn approach as we don't see the wolf until well into the second episode. The costume's imperfections are well hidden by clever and effective lighting that punctuate a very well-produced installment of the show. A nice twist towards the end of the story helps this episode distinguish itself as a classic. When used correctly, werewolves are an old-fashioned monster type that can still be impactful on a solid narrative. Goosebumps utilize this paradigm well.
Trying not to repeat the same villains I already spoke about last year was a challenge.
Even still, there were a few monsters that just missed out on the list.
So here they are as honorable mentions.
And the number one best Goosebumps monster is the Scarecrows in Scarecrow Walks at Midnight. Brought to life by a book of dark magic, these scarecrows are pure terror. If only they had a brain.
Okay, did I miss the Wizard of Oz reference memo today? Oh, yeah.
Jody and Mark are visiting their grandparents' farm, but something just doesn't seem quite right. Things are slightly different, and everyone working at the farm are clearly keeping something from the visitors. The scarecrows in the cornfield catch the attention of Mark and Jody for their gruesome appearance, and every once in a while, it almost seems like they move. The scarecrows are the perfect mix of mystery, intimidation, and fright. I love how they switch from people in costumes to real scarecrows from shot to shot at some points. It really makes the characters question their sanity. How they creep about in the darkness lit only by lightning strikes and a few shots sets a really chilling tone. I like the other characters in this episode too. There's a good variance on types here that works towards the story's benefit. It's not the best episode of the show, but it without a doubt features some of the best monsters Goosebumps has ever produced. There's much more I want to say about these honorable mentions, so this calls for an episode of the Countdown Continued. See how these monsters ranked as I go into more detail about them in a new video on my personal channel, out now. I'll also be reviewing 2015's Goosebumps movie very soon, as well as its sequel when that debuts in theaters next week.
We want to hear what you guys think. What's your favorite Goosebumps monster?
What do you want to see us cover next on the show? Leave a comment and let us know.
To keep in touch, you could like my Facebook page or follow along on Twitter.
And you can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or subscribe to my animated movie review series, Multiplex 10.
And you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, or Twitch, where I stream on Wednesday nights.
We'll catch you right back here next week with the worst Goosebumps monsters on a brand new episode of October Top 5.